So when it comes to performance training, this is where the certifications come into play. So if I'm that guy that woke up and said, you know what, I know a couple kids, let's start training them and making some money at it, I'm not gonna be able to do that. So in order to be able to train specific sports, and we call it sport-specific training, in order to be able to do it, that's where the certifications come into play. Sport-specific training is where we take the sport that the athlete is playing, and we really, we look at the movements performed in that sport, and we study movement patterns. And then what we do is create a program based on those common movement patterns desired or necessary in that sport. So that's what this whole, sport-specific training thing is all about. And that's where the certifications come into play. Without it, you won't know how to do it. Or if you can do it, you won't be able to sustain it over a long period of time. And we call it a progression. So you want to be able to progress from one workout to another. If I've got a kid for 4 years, I got to be able to progress that kid from, ninth grade all the way through senior year. So it's progression. In order to do it, I've got to have a certain knowledge base behind it. So I see the second one. It said, how did you begin D1 athletics and as a strength coach? As I told you before, it was just pretty much me working hard and understanding the importance of my education. And I watched a lot of videos and I studied a lot of athletes. And because I did that, and I had, did the dirty work behind the curtain, right? Put in that work, that allowed me to be at the Division I level because I didn't sit in a resume. Didn't do it. What happened was my resume was my athletes when they left the building. And they went to school. And their strength coach is like, dude, you guys keep coming back in great shape. What are you doing? And the quarterback said, we got a guy in Tampa. His name is S Armstrong. It's my senior year. We need to bring him in. So I say that to say, because sometimes the opportunities doesn't come because you're looking for it. It comes because you're working and you're grinding and you're helping connect folks to greatness and you're setting people up to be successful. And the words that they say about you, right, is the resume. So resumes and all that do matter, but the work that you do, that speaks volumes. So think about that as well. And that's with anything too, not just this particular field, if you decide to do something else. So third question, it says, what programs did you work with at UGA? So the predominant program for 2 years, 2 seasons, it was football. It was football only. In the SEC, which is the Southeastern Conference, it's the best conference in the universe in the United States of America. So I was just with football. My 3rd year, the baseball team was struggling, so we added baseball. So we trained those guys as well, 2 to 3 times a week. And then the second piece of that says, what's the emphasis for baseball workouts? So once again, it's sport-specific training. So we're looking at the movement patterns, and we're understanding that trunk rotation is huge. Rotator cuff, external, internal, all that kind of stuff is huge for the structural integrity of the shoulders to make sure we prevent injury. So we emphasize trunk rotation, injury prevention, explosiveness through the hips. We emphasize a lot of balance work as well, but everything is done in a baseball-specific manner because what we don't want to do is take a group of baseball athletes and train them like football athletes. So if we start to do that, then we're going to slow them down. They're going to tighten up. They're going to have more greater chance of being injured. And at the end of the day, they will not perform at a high level. And then that falls on me and my shoulders, and that's not a good look. Question 4 says, who's the most famous person that you train? Easy. For me, it's Todd Gurley. So I don't know if you guys know football, but Todd Gurley, his last year was a little tough for him, but he's one of the best running backs in the NFL today. So Todd Gurley was one of my athletes, and the position group that I worked with at Georgia was running backs. I worked with the secondary. I don't know if you guys know what that is, and quarterbacks. So Todd Gurley was one of my main athletes. I'll tell you a quick story about him. His his junior year, Todd was set up because he played so well his freshman year and sophomore year. he's set up to win the Heisman, right? He's that good, right? And the Heisman is one of the greatest awards that they give out when they talk about a football athlete and the measure of what they do, right? And how they measure that, right? So the Heisman is huge. So he was set up to win the Heisman. So what happened was, over the course of a few months leading up to the start of the season, he had signed some autographs, and what he did was accepted money for those autographs. And the NCAA, they have rules and regulations. And those rules said that you cannot accept money as a collegiate athlete. If you do, you automatically forfeit that year or your career. You're now professional, considered to them. So he signed those autographs. NCAA caught wind of it. And what they did was they suspended him until further notice. So we're starting our first game minus Todd Gurley. Right? His Heisman hopes are almost over. And we go to second game. No Todd. Forget about the Heisman. It's done. Right? It's over. Fourth game, still suspended. Then we get into the fifth game. He's back. Right? Todd, so great as he is, what happened was he's one of the best athletes that I've trained. And in the off time, those 4 games, what he did was, because he couldn't practice with the team, because it's an NCAA rule, if you're suspended, you can't practice with the team. But me and Todd got together every single day while the team was practicing, and we lift weights. We work on speed, we work on balance, we do all kind of crazy stuff to make sure that when he comes back, he's a beast. So sure enough, he comes back, and we're playing against Auburn, packed arena, in between the hedges at the University of Georgia. Kicks the ball off, and Todd is the guy back to receive it. He takes it back for a touchdown. Todd scored 3 or 4 touchdowns that game, just to let everybody know that, hey, I'm a monster, I'm a stud. Then on top of that, tore his ACL. Came back from an ACL injury to only be drafted first round. The first running back taken in the NFL draft that year. So, you talk about a famous person that I'm training, he's that guy. His jersey's hanging up in my gym right now today. And it's only because he understands, hey, I wouldn't be here today had it not been for Coach Sherman. So he wants an autographed jersey, I'm sending it to him. So Todd sent me an autographed jersey. I'm very fortunate.
Couple more for my second period, Coach.
Say it again?
These are a couple more questions for my second period class.
So, strength and conditioning coach salary. So for me, my salary when I went to the university was $90,000, but I needed $120,000 to move. So they hired my wife because she has every certification that I have. They hired her to work on Olympic sports. So we're about 120. Bonus is maybe 130. However, strength and conditioning coaches in the SEC can make upwards to $700,000 a year. So if you're a head strength coach, it can get big, right? Close to $1 million a year, because the role of a strength and conditioning coach at the collegiate level for a dominant program like football or a revenue building program like football and basketball, these are very important people. We spend more time with the athletes than the head coaches or their position coaches themselves. And without us, we're the glue that holds it together. Without us, they won't be able to do what the coaches demand of them. So the salaries do vary. And understand, 90 or 120,000, that's only like SEC. That's Pac-12. These are Big Ten. These are major conferences. The smaller schools, now we're talking 40, 50, 35. But it's a start, and you work your way up. I had no collegiate coaching experience as a strength and conditioning coach before I got to the University of Georgia, but I put in a lot of work, and I trained over 100 professional athletes. So I already had the resume, and I was already qualified, so that 90 wasn't big in regards to them as far as what they were paying. So that was the salary. Second question here says, what was my motivation? So for me, my motivation was I grew up in the south side of Chicago. And the south side of Chicago is a very rough area. And there's a lot of drugs and gangs. And it's easy to get swayed to go down the wrong route, but I was motivated and inspired to not return to Chicago, right? I don't go back, haven't been back in a while, right? But that was my motivation. is to go to college and set myself up so I don't have to be hanging out on the south side of Chicago, because a lot of my childhood friends aren't here anymore. They're either dead or they're in prison. So that was my motivation, because I didn't want to be in prison. I didn't want to die, right? I wanted to do something bigger and something greater. So that was my true motivation. And now that I have kids, my motivation now is to make sure and see them through, to help set them up so they can achieve a scholarship. Now my motivation is those athletes that come into my building, because we have a map in our gym, and it's got every school that our athletes attend. And we got a bunch of kids and help put them into school. So now the motivation is those kids that come in and train with me, we got to get them on the map. So the motivation is success all across the board. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I have a lot of energy when I do what I do.
That's one of the things we talked about, Coach. What is your why? We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Goal setting, what's your why?
Absolutely.
So those are the things he just mentioned.
Yeah, and without a solid why, you'll quit. You'll give up. So if you have a why, when you face adversity or when you struggle, that why is what's going to keep you moving. It's going to keep you getting back up over and over again and trying it again and again instead of quitting. So that's why it's so important to have your why. It is your fuel. It's your fuel. It's your energy. It's your everything. Without it, you stay at a low level. Without it, we're just like everybody else, right? Who decides maybe everything that my parents or my family members would tell me, or my friends, they told me I couldn't have it. Maybe they're right, because I don't have a strong enough why. Anything you're trying to do in life, right, that is of great value is going to require, right, a great amount of sacrifice. And it's going to require a process of events that have to happen. And part of the process to you all reaching your goals is going to be failure along the way. Part of the process is going to be the ups and the downs, right? And feeling like you're stuck and you can't move, right? So that's part of the process, right? So your why is very important. So I guess the third one said, when did you know?
When did you know you wanted to be like a strength and conditioning coach is what?
You're right. So I pretty much knew it once I was finished with professional track and field. Like I said earlier, I didn't want to sit in some office and be confined to the space and then walk outside and see the sun for the first time all day. No way, right? So that's when I knew. I knew it then, right? And I knew because I had a pretty impressive athletic resume. You can't go get that in school. You can't get 9 Big Ten titles in school. You got to do that on your own. You can't be a 4-time All-American in school. So I already had the leg up on everyone else because of my accomplishments athletically. Then I went ahead and did it academically as well. It says, have you coached anything?
That was,
Yep. Ty Gurley. And I've had a host of others along the way. Let's see, who else? I mentioned LaShawn McCoy. We have Rashad Jones. He's the highest paid safety in the NFL. Who else? We have a couple basketball players, the Graham brothers. They're twins. They're actually here in Brandon, Florida. So help work with those guys. They're retired currently, but yeah, we work with a lot of athletes. Any other questions?
If you're someone who's trying to get into athletics, what do you suggest for kids our age to start getting used to, like workout routines and stuff?
Right. Well, your age, it's important to not just do a workout, but understand why am I doing it. To really ask the tough questions, to maybe a trainer or a coach. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this now? What's this exercise working? And how's it going to get me from point A to B? So once you start understanding, right, the intricacies and those tough questions behind the scenes of why I'm doing what I'm doing, then you begin to open your minds up even more. So that now when you start to eventually, the next step would be, I want to be an intern. So we have paid and unpaid interns at my gym today. So our coaches that aspire to be where I was and beyond, they take an internship position with me. And in that role, I teach them from the ground up how to do what I do. But it goes beyond training. I want to teach you how to clean the facility. I want to teach you what's important as far as just the look of everything. So everything has to look good as well. It has to look clean, right? And then I have to have a thought process that goes behind the workouts that I put together. And then there's a way to prescribe those workouts. There's a pace, there's a tempo, and there's a required amount of energy for coaches also. So there's a lot of things that's required, but that's the first step, is to ask those tough questions. And then secondly, align yourself with someone doing what you want to do. Pick their brains, and if you can intern under them, do it. Because even if they're not paying you green dollars, you're getting paid because you're understanding here. So you're growing here instead of in your pockets.
One of the videos that we saw last week was a strength and conditioning coach, the head guy for the Giants, New York Giants football. And he talked about he started at North Carolina as an assistant, grad assistant. And then he went to Oklahoma State, and then he went to Kansas State, and then he went, so that life, was difficult, but, he was a PE teacher, and he was in a volunteer to get that knowledge. Absolutely. He knew that the teaching was going to pay his bills at the time because he needed his way in. So,
Absolutely.
I wanted them to see that, there is a grind. You might, and then, networking. He knew some guy, took him to Oklahoma State from across the country.
Right.
And network is important too, and
Very
that's how you can build, you build a business part of that. So
networking is huge when it comes to that as well. And understand the reason why I'm still not in college, I just didn't like the fact that I'm gonna be moving a lot. So I've got kids, they're in high school athletics and whatnot, so I wanna be able to watch their games and not have to be. At the University of Georgia, our day looks like this. We wake up about 5 o'clock. First workout's at 6 o'clock. We're there all day. And I'll get home, at about 7 o'clock. So I guess it's not bad. But I'm missing everything, And when you talk about collegiate athletics, when I left the University of Georgia, our record, I think we were 10-3. We were runner-ups in the SEC East. And they made the decision to fire our head strength and conditioning coach. The way college goes is, if they fire the head guy, then everybody under him is also fired. So they fired him, and now we didn't feel that we were to blame, but someone's got to get fired in the SEC if you lose 3 football games. And you win a bowl game, but it's still not good enough. Our goal is a national title. Our goal is to win the entire SEC, and if it's not happening, some folks have got to get fired. And that year, they fired the head coach. They fired all of us under him. And I could have re-interviewed for my position. But I wasn't really feeling the amount of power that they actually had, because they could fire me even though I was great at what I did. So that's the reason why I left. And then when I got here, I could have took a job at the University of Miami as a strength and conditioning coach, because they called me about it. But it was the same head coach from Georgia that left to go to the University of Miami, and that's the connection, right? That's the network. So because I did a good job at the University of Georgia, he was willing to bring me with him to the University of Miami, but I didn't want it. It's just too much power, too much uncertainty. And sure enough, after 2 years, that coach left, and everybody else got fired. So I'll be fired again, looking to start my business again. As I get older and as my kids grow up, and I'm trying to provide for them as well. I didn't want that life. But I took a job at the University of Illinois, my alma mater. They just weren't paying enough. I need big cake. They didn't have it. So, turned them down, and now I'm here today, controlling my own destiny. But it's a path. If that's what you want, it's worth taking for you. My motivation had changed. It wasn't to be an NFL strength coach anymore. The motivation changed. Any other questions?